with the exception of 2 minor wording changes. The first change was to policy BCBI, stating that the request must be submitted no later than 3 p.m. the day prior to public meetings. And the second change was to policy JBD, providing examples of school support personnel included but not limited to counselors, school nurses, and school psychologists. Those were the only 2 wording changes. So at this time, we are asking, based on these reviewed by the Policy Review Committee, that you approve these policies with the recommended changes.
I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, no? And we have none. Thank you.
Now on the left side of your folder is the new list of policies for your consideration. These were also emailed to you in the packet by Ms. Lamano. These are the changes from Forethought. In addition, Mr. Geis has requested one other policy to be considered by the Policy Review Committee, and that one is also in the left side of your folder. That was not in the email. The Policy Review Committee will meet at noon on September the 26th to discuss these policies and recommendations, and we will be asking for your approval at the following meeting in October.
Thank you. Item number 5, Finance Committee report, Ms. Mikus.
Good afternoon. The Finance Committee met on Tuesday, August the 29th here in the boardroom. There were 2 items on the agenda. One was the consolidated budget presented by myself and to be recommended to the board. The Finance Committee approved that recommendation. And the second, we discussed designating a portion of the west side timber sales towards playground equipment. Mr. Manley presented that to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee requested to wait until we had access to the funds and knew more about what those funds would be, what funds would be available. We have our next regularly scheduled meeting here in the boardroom Thursday, November the 16th at 9 a.m.
And that's your report. Do you have
And
a wish to
that's
accept
our report.
these items as discussed?
I so move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition, no? And there is a none. Item number 6, consider annual operating budget for 23-24 fiscal year. Ms. Mikus.
As you're aware and we're present, we had a public hearing at 11 a.m. this morning here in this room where we went over the annual operating budget. Unless it's your request, Mr. President, we'll let that stand as the presentation of the budget.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the 23-24 budget?
Also move that we accept the annual operating budget for the 23-24 fiscal year.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Having a discussion? Did you get that one?
Mr. Hicks.
Mr. Hicks? Any discussion?
Hicks, okay. Mr. Hicks.
There is none. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition, no? And there is none.
I just kind of say, Mr. President, I'm going to thank Ms. Regina and for her staff for the work that you all are doing with the budget. As you forestated, we had met at 11 o'clock, and it was very clear the path in which we're moving in and some of the things that we discussed, and also the report we got from last week. So I want to commend y'all.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is consider a resolution for retention and recruitment salary supplement for 23-24 fiscal year. Ms. Mikus.
So you have in your packet a resolution for retention and recruitment. These funds originate from the ESSER grants. We have done this in the past. This year, we're looking at $1,000 total for the year per employee. That's an across the board amount. half of that to be in the fall, half of that to be in the spring. So the resolution you have in front of you only addresses the half for the fall. And then we'll come back in the spring, once we've solidified the amounts of the grant and we're further through that. So what we're looking at is $500 per regular employee. This will also include the long-term substitutes. This is exactly the same wording that we used in the prior year supplements that we did through ESSER. We go through a process, we identify our long-term substitutes. As of the date of record, we're looking at the date of record being September the 15th. $500 across the board, not being prorated, not being factored. It's just a straight $500 per employee. That would be distributed on October the 6th, which is the Friday previous to fall break.
We have a motion to approve this resolution,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, no. And there is none. Thank you. Number 8, consider resolution of State of Louisiana stipend for the 23-24 fiscal year. Ms. Mickens?
So you have in your packet a resolution that addresses the 23-24 state certificated and support stipend. This is what we're requesting is that this be done in 2 allocations, one in the fall, one in the spring. The state legislature allocated in their 2023 session $2,000 per certificated employee and $1,000 per support staff. This would be based on full-time, regular employees. This would not go to long-term subs. I just want to point that out because of the contrast with the 2 stipends. This would be allocated in the same manner that we allocate the stipend in January of each year. It's prorated out, so say a 9-month would be different than a 12-month, and if you have an employee, a regular employee who works less than that 9-month, 8-hour period, theirs will be prorated as well. So it's adjusted to the employment period of the employee. This, we're also asking for it to be distributed on October the 6th with a record date of September the 15th for the fall. And then there's also, the second half of it would be distributed on March 22nd, which is the Friday prior to spring break, with a date of record of March 1st. And the purpose of this, we have employees that come and go all throughout the year, so this would address that issue if we have an employee that comes late, say maybe at midterm, or if we have an employee that leaves maybe at midterm, that this would be more available to employees as they are staffed during the year.
We have a motion to adopt this resolution for our stipend pay for this coming year.
So moved.
And
Second.
a second. Mr. Bate, Mike, and Sherry? Any discussion? All in favor, yes.
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 Any opposition, likewise, will be no. And there is none. Ms. Mickens, financial report for July 31st, 2023.
My last item for the day.
Thank you.
So this is for the period ending July 31st, 2023. This is after the first month of operations for our fiscal year. We're looking at a current ending fund balance in the general fund of $28.7 million. That's right at 100% of what our fund balance was at this time last year. In M&O, we're looking at a fund balance of $34.4 million. That's actually 167% of what we were at this time last year. But as we discussed with the budget, there are items that we have put money aside for, such as buses, roofs, things that we will be using that M&O money for in the coming year, and we're actually projecting we go into the new year. If you look back on the last page gives a little more information, 3 years' worth of data for the revenues, expenditures, and a comparison of fund balances for general fund and M&O, to give you a little more data, historical data. That's all I have, Mr. President.
We have a motion to accept this July 31st report. Have a motion.
Awesome. Oh, you already have a motion? Okay, I'll
And a
second.
second. Any discussion? You have a
That's good.
yes vote for all those that approve?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition? None? We thank you. Ms. Mickles and her crew do a great job, and
Yes.
we don't say thank you enough. We appreciate all this number crunching that you do for us each time. Mr. Hemphill doesn't do a lot, but we're gonna let him do the construction and renovation. Construction and renovation projects report.
Take my part too, she'll do a great job.
Thank you.
Got on a nice shirt, though.
Thank you, Mr. Como. In your packet, you'll find updates from different architects. First one will be Architect Alliance, Ouachita High School, the altercation additions. We've got the press box, and then the restroom at the football field. They're completed, been punch list made on the restrooms, and they're working daily on the press box. Mr. Graves has been by there. He goes by there 3 or 4 times a week, I believe. He's by there a lot. So, the office area up front, I think they're gonna try to finish up 1st of October. I think that's what I heard Brian tell me. Then the Ouachita Junior High replacement, I think we got that on the valuation bid. If you can look through some of the pictures that Architect Alliance provided for Ouachita. And we have TBA. We started from elementary, actually started on the backside where the bus lanes are gonna be, working with a lot of the drainage, putting culverts in. They had been working on the retention pond, getting it cleaned back out. We'll take on that extra water. West Ouachita, this is the office area now. This is.
You talking about Sturgis Elementary or middle school, Stephen?
That was elementary.
Okay.
Sturgis Elementary. Did I say middle school?
No, you said elementary.
Okay.
Where's the retention pond at? Is it back behind?
It's kind of to the north, and I didn't really know this until I went up there and looked. It's kind of to the northwest.
Okay.
Up towards 160.
Must be a small pond.
It's a small,
I fixed to say.
it's a small, I mean, we even did some drainage work out in the front and didn't realize there was a retention pond over
Yeah,
there.
okay. I didn't either.
Again, West Ouachita, punch list items been made on that job. Trying to get Mr. Mayfield, Damon Mayfield out there to get those completed. The canopies are 99% finished. That's the outside classroom pavilions at the 3 schools. Then another West Ouachita, that's projects being put out for bid. That's the sports complex, girls, boys baseball area, security upgrades. We're probably gonna be doing a punch list this Friday on the man trap on the west side, so we should be finishing those up, getting all the access control points in, all the security system, all the cameras back in, and we'll be up and running maybe towards the end of the month, so.
Stephen, on those Ouachita Parish School Board canopies, I know Sterlington's got one, Richwood's got one. I had the opportunity to go by there a week or so ago and look at that canopy at Sterlington High School. And the maintenance supervisor pointed out that the ceiling fans are so high that there's not any benefit from the wind from the ceiling fans to the students below.
That
And
was
I
put
think,
on the punch list.
Oh, it's on the punch list?
They're gonna
Okay.
lower those fans.
they are gonna lower the fans? Okay. I just might wanna make sure that that was on the punch list or something's gonna be done about it. Okay. I think the plans required or dictated that they would be below the lights. Is that kinda what they're looking at?
Right.
Okay.
They're gonna check that everywhere.
Yes,
Chip, that's one other thing on those canopies that I looked at over the weekend. And I know they're not through with the canopies, but there were some areas where they had cut out to receive the fans and to receive the lights. I think where they received the lights, they kind of like put a little patch up there. I guess that would be, but there are some areas that they have some openings that's just large enough for birds
to get in.
to get into.
Yeah, we'll address that on the punch list, and we'll get those taken care of.
Okay, because,
The restroom upgrades, we got substantial completion on those. Those really look good at Riser, Middle, Rowley, and Drew. Really dressed those schools up, and then we're still waiting on Miss Jolene's generator to come in, maybe before winter, hopefully, so. And then, Drew Elementary roof, that's being put out for bid. Next, Sterling Middle,
Before you leave TBA, have we got any idea on Bowley when we'll have a punch list
I
finalized?
talked with Hannah this past week, and I was by there yesterday talking with Jay. And they took, we're all aggravated with that situation.
Yeah, you got that
We're gonna
right.
have a final date, and I told Hannah, I said, look, we gotta get with Jay.
We gave them 30 days back
Right,
a month and a half ago
Right.
to get the stuff done, and
Right.
it still hasn't been done.
yeah. I'll reach out to TBA again this afternoon and tell them we need to proceed with whatever we need to do to get that moving. Stars Mill, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I think it went well. I think they're making good progress still up there. There's some things that, the week before I was there, they were working on the curbs, the roads, putting in the road lanes, and, getting all that, ready to have all that tied in. I know we got the completion date for February the 20th, but I think we're looking realistic into March sometime, so, hopefully they keep moving on that. And I did talk with Coach Magoo, we talked with Rice Gregory yesterday about timing the sprinkler system being put in on the football field, so, hopefully that'll work out. He said around November is when that'll probably take place. Next, we have, Land 3, Bill Land, got Richwood High School. I think during the fall break, they're gonna start in the front, putting the awnings in, that's on the front part of the school to get most of that done while the kids are out of school. And that job just, it's moving on, so hopefully thinking November, December, maybe, but, they were hoping for our early, final day to complete that job. We'll see how that goes. Richwood Middle, that's being put out for bid. We got a pre-bid construction on October the 3rd. And then we'll be opening bids on October the 16th and have those ready to review on the next board meeting.
just for a point of error, that you mean October the 3rd, 2023.
I did. You're correct, 2023.
I think we got 2024 all through the documents, so.
My secretary did do a real good job on that.
It gives us a lot of leadway.
I even put it in bold numbers, so you could really see it too. Yeah, stuck out there. Lasby Associates, the treatment plants, they're about 75% complete at our two inside schools. I think they kind of still putting they got the tank in the ground, they just putting all the inside together. And then they'll wait for a good holiday to make the transfer to tie in the sewer line. One thing they were doing for us was the turning lanes at, 165, they are complete. Only thing they do not have is the new turning signals. And they said they're about 4 months out. And if we don't have another hurricane or another storm come up and do a lot of damage, that area would come priority, on something like that. So that'd be the only thing that push back the turning signal at the turning lane that starts the road. That's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Evaluation of bids, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Como, Board, in your packet, you should have a list of all these bid items that we have to approve here. So, starting with the first one, the sale of timber, we're gonna reject those bids because Caldwell Parish did not advertise the same time we did. That's going to be rectified today. We're gonna get a new permission to bid. Caldwell Parish has been notified. They meet on the 14th, which is Thursday. They will also approve this, so we'll get that rectified and get that fixed. So at this time, I need to reject the two bids that we got for the timber sale.
Have a motion to reject these two items.
Also move that we reject these two items.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Bob, the only thing I've got is, in the finance committee, we talked about the tracks that we are currently looking at on this bid, and there might be another track or so out there. Has there been any discussion or information developed on that additional track? Because the money that we'd anticipated was a little below what we had thought, for what the bids were. Have you checked on that any?
I did talk to
with Newt?
Mr. Briggs a little bit, Mr. Manley, and I will further that discussion. I will go ahead and include that track.
That's what I
with
was
the
gonna make
permission to
sure.
bid,
Right.
But he had mentioned something to me about not wanting to do it right now because some of the bidders may get overextended because they have to write the check up front.
Okay.
They may not be able to bid on it.
So it will be included, it might be a later
I'm gonna
date.
include it, but we're gonna do that probably at a later date.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure it was included, and that way we'd have a
Are we
total
gonna
amount.
cut all six, pieces of property? Are we gonna do east side and west side? Are we gonna cut them all?
This
We're
was just the
gonna
west
do the
side.
three- We're just gonna do the three on the west side.
Why aren't we doing east side?
Well, one of
Same
the tracks is right in the middle of Russell Sage.
Yes, and we talked about that, but he came up here that day, Mr. Bay. I told him it flooded every year for duck season. He said they're gonna drain it after duck season, and it'd dry up, and he had a guy could go in there with a wet and cut it. I thought we was gonna do everything we had.
Okay.
Because the trees are being blowed down, they're getting, pine trees, they're getting diseases, we losing money on them. I wanna cut every one of them, not just three.
We can, when we get to that part, Mr. Graves, we can go ahead and include everything. I will say that the track on, off of Harmon Johnson Road where the racetrack used to be, that.
Prairie
timber
Road,
is-
Prairie Road.
That timber is not ready to cut yet. It's only about 10 years old. Now, it's tall, but it doesn't have any girth to it. And so, Mr. Briggs has already said that we don't need to cut it.
I'd recommend that we utilize Mr. Griggs' professional opinion on, we got some where it needs to be cut on the east side. I would recommend we go ahead and harvest it, but if it doesn't, then, not.
I spoke with him briefly the other day on the phone, and he was wanting to do likewise, maybe for the same reason, was wanting to wait till after January to do the properties on the east side.
Okay, so he is gonna look at them
Yeah.
and make a determination on what
And we
could
had
be
talked about
harvested.
going to look as well.
We can go ahead and include them. It really doesn't matter. We can.
But
can do
we
it
cut them
globally.
in the next year or so. I mean, it gotta be right now, but
Right.
I don't wanna say,
I'm just saying, if we want to go ahead and do that, when we do the permission to do it, everything that's harvestable, that's all we need to do is do it that way, and that will include everything.
And we're not getting a lot of bids, right?
We only got two the last time. We must have sent out 40
And I
proposals.
I can understand his logic. If you only have two for the east side, that would put you in a bind.
Right, it's a cash flow issue.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and make it in the form of a motion then, that we go ahead and include the ones that can be cut, okay?
Okay, well, that's fine.
I second.
When we
I make
get
a
to that-
motion.
when we
Have a
get to that
motion and
part.
have a motion and a second,
Whoa,
and
whoa.
we've had this discussion.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Mr.
Go
Comack,
ahead.
can we do that when we get to
Yes,
the
sir.
permission to bid?
Okay.
Okay, all
Okay,
right.
thank you. Next item is desktop PCs and accessories. That RFP was opened and was scored, and we recommend the high point total for Dell.
Bobby, I don't think we voted on rejecting.
Oh, sorry.
We had a
No, we did
motion, we
not.
had a second,
We
we had
did not.
discussion. All in favor of rejecting this bid, yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Any opposition? And there is none. Excuse me, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Comack. Okay, number two is the RFP we did for desktop PCs and accessories. Those bids were evaluated and scored, and we recommend the high score of Dell with 91 points.
We have a motion accepting Dale bid for this.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none.
Okay, the next item is the Ouachita Junior High School roof replacement, and the recommendation is for Southern Roofing and Vinyl with a bid of $857,000.
The budget on that was 1.4 million.
That is correct.
We come in way under budget.
Thank goodness.
So Bobby, does that bid include all specifications that we had asked for, and architect or whatever?
To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Manley, the bid was inclusive, and we bid on everything.
Just comes up so
There
much
was a lo-
cheaper.
There was a lot of variations in the bids, but actually, there's a couple of them that are close to that. So, when we opened the first two bids, which was Southern Roofing's and
Vincent.
Vincent's, well, actually, it was industrial. I mean, it was like, we got some crazy variations there, but they came closer together. I mean, you can see we have a bid for $1,075,000, which is about 200,000 more. And then there was a bid at $1,094,000. And I think both of those roofers were from out of town, so they would have had to have paid for stipends and people to come up here and work. So it got a little bit more manageable from that perspective. But as far as I know, Mr. Enfield can say that it included everything that was requested.
And Architect Alliance will be the architect that will ensure that all specifications are completed on the roof job.
I make a motion with, approve Southern Roofing and Vinyl.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? And there is none.
The next item, Mr. Como, is for the benches and tables for the canopies and things that were built. My recommendation is for R.J. Thomas on bid items 1, 2, and 3, and 5 and 6. And no pun intended, but I need a table number 4. I did not get a chance to check the specs on Evergreen Landscape or HD Supply. But I would like to go ahead and approve 1, 2, and 3, 5, and 6. And those are probably gonna be the tables we're gonna order anyway, because those are the 4-seaters and the regular rectangle tables and the ADA stuff. So
Is that all metal or what's the construction?
it's,
We'll make sure they be able to,
it's not a powder coat, it's a plastic, cover,
so it will hold up
yes.
in the
The only thing it
outside.
won't handle, only thing it won't handle is if you were to hit it with something and you scrape that plastic coat covering off of it, but it's metal underneath it.
Okay.
So that would be, we thought that'd be better than doing the powder coat, because over time, the powder coat's gonna start to fade.
And we have consulted and got the principal's numbers and permission on all these tables for each school,
I have not gotten the actual numbers of which types they want.
but the numbers of tables. have been-
Yes, and we can
Okay.
order what we need.
Right, yeah, okay. Just wanna
No.
make sure the numbers were in
Right.
concurrent with the principal's wishes.
The only thing that we're gonna have to, once the tables get here, we will probably have to hire somebody to put them together, because they do not come assembled. So you'll probably have the seats and the table itself, and then it has to be put together. We'll have to get somebody to do that.
Bobby?
Yes, sir.
I think that, I saw somewhere where there was a drawing, what the tables would look like and where they would be located under each canopy.
Yes, sir.
So can, have those been made available to the principals as well?
The printouts that I got, I have not sent those to the principals, Mr. McCoy, but the tables that we chose, those were sent to principals approved them, they said they were good with those. And basically, it's a round table, a square table, and a rectangular table.
When they choose which one they want
They
and how
can pick-
many.
they can choose however many they want and what'll fit.
Okay.
Just as long as we can make sure that we put enough ADA tables in there as well. So they got a good mix and match, and the colors that we have should be fine, the red, blue, green, and black. So they can choose from those 4 colors.
So we have a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and to table item 4.
I so move.
Have a second? Any more discussion?
Any
All in-
timeline on this, Bobby, when they'll be in, when they'll be available in the
I
school?
hope to get those ordered by the end of the week, Mr. Manley, and I'm not sure if any of these things are back ordered or if they're available and how quick I do know that the person that actually is awarded the bid is a manufacturer. They're not a third party, so.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none.
Okay, the next item, number 5, HVAC filter maintenance. That contract actually expired and we had to renew it. And the recommendation is to use HASC. Basically, that was the same vendor that was doing it last year, just under a different company name now, with a total points of 97.
We have a motion to accept the HASC filters for this coming year.
I so move.
Second. Have a motion, second, any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none.
Okay, the next item is a bid that we did for athletic equipment and something that we have done in the past. And again, I just want to make a point here, Mr. Como, this does not limit any of our coaches or schools or anybody else from ordering from any other company provided we abide by the public bid law. And this was, we actually went over this a little bit at the athletic directors meeting. So there's going to be really no change to the way the coaches in the schools are ordering stuff. It's just that this is just something to satisfy the public bid law. And BSN was the only responsive bidder that we got. So that's my recommendation to accept them.
We have a motion to accept the BSN bid
Second.
and a second. Any more discussion or any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Anybody voting no? And there is none?
We're getting there.
Slowly.
Okay, the last item under evaluation of bid is musical instruments, and I did not get responsive bids across the board on this. But what I would like to do is recommend those items that are listed in bold, who are low and responsive, that we award the bids to them. The only thing I will say at this time is that on bid items 13 and 14, those actually came in over budget. And I do need to check with the schools to make sure they have enough funds to cover that. So provided they have enough funds, I will ask to go ahead and approve those as well with that little asterisk on there.
Do I have a motion to accept the bid tabulation in 1924 for musical instruments?
I so move.
And
Second.
a second. Any more discussion?
Are these for all the schools, or is this just, because at one time, the board had decided that we would alternate a high school each year and supply some money for their musical equipment? How are we doing that now?
These are coming out of their school funds.
Their school funds?
Their school funds. And if they have money allocated to them through the school board, they get a allocation per student. So those funds, plus the funds that they have through schools, will pay for this.
So with the school, at one time, due to my recollection, I know the school board at one time, we bought uniforms.
Right.
We
Still
have a
do.
We
uniform.
bought uniforms for the band members, not
Still
instruments.
Still
Still
do.
do,
Still
right,
do.
okay. But these are all instruments.
These are all musical instruments, trumpets, saxophones, euphoniums.
And we rotate the uniforms, but the instruments we supply on,
They have their own funds and they provide for that, except for the junior highs. They actually get money when it comes to their turn of rotation.
Where did the schools receive the money from?
Well, most of them, I mean, I don't know how they get it, whether they do it through fundraisers or booster clubs, or they just.
Ouachita High School, to boost the concession stand of football goes bad,
Yeah.
so they get it that way.
Right, there's also an allocation per student out of M&O for those purposes that they can use to keep up their
general
instruments,
fund
buy
at each school,
instruments.
right?
Yes, sir.
So, the allocation out of M&O per student,
Per-
meaning per student, per
Band student,
band students.
yes, sir.
Okay, so the smaller the band, the fewer the dollars.
Correct.
Okay.
Because theoretically, it would take fewer dollars to maintain a smaller band than a larger band. So there's an amount allocated per student, and then there's an allocation based on size. And those funds are made available to the bands. And I would have to say band and choir probably, we've made some calls around to other districts, and we support and provide for ours more so than anybody else that we have talked to. I know, when you're talking about money, there's never enough to go around, but we do have allocations that go out to help offset some of their costs.
So we don't have any situation where we have band students without instruments?
I would have no way of knowing that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so as it is now, then every band student, as far as we know, has the adequate instrument to be able to function in our band.
That's an understanding. We're very fortunate to have Robbie Freeman over our band programs and Lacey Sanderson over our choir programs. They're very active. They're up here a lot, working for all of our band programs. So I feel certain Lacey and Robbie would make us aware if we were, and no principals brought that to my attention either.
Thank you.
All in favor of approving the bid tabulation 1924, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, say no. And there is none. Permission to bid, Mr. Jones.
Okay, Mr. Como, we can do all these at one time.
Wonderful.
And I'll let Mr. Graves or whoever wants to make the motion on the timber sale, we'll do it that way. But anyway, we have a sale of timber, which is a repeat of the bid we rejected. Education materials, that's just stuff that we ordered during the school year. And then we have a chiller update, whatever that means. I'm assuming, Mr. Enfield, that's doing some repairs and replacements to a chiller at Ouachita High School. So those are the three items we have for permission to bid.
I'd like to make a motion that like timber sales, that any timber that's eligible cut, that's cuttable, that put it out to bid to cut.
Okay?
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, yes.
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 Any opposition, no. And there is none.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Como.
Thank
Board.
you. President's report. That would be me. Our October meeting is a little later because of the fall break. We'll be on October 17th. I think we have several bid opens the day before that, so if you'd like to attend those. When is elections?
What is election day? I don't know.
Anybody know off the top of the head when the elections?
Is it the 3rd? November? Is it October? October.
Well, I guess we'll make
Got
accommodations
it.
for those schools that are closed.
I was
for
hoping
voting
Tabby pull it
polls.
up, you know. October 14th and November 18th, thank you.
President's report. That was me. Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Como.
Oh, one other thing. Stephen did tell me, he did some research for me this week. Anybody wants to know the lift at the football stadium on the home side, I think it's finally come in. It's to be installed the week of October 3rd. Is that right? Thank you, Stephen.
That's the elevator?
It's for the handicap lift.
Just real quickly, he certainly wouldn't want me to do this, but I need to thank Todd Leonard and his staff. Y'all know we've had some hot weather, and those guys have been juggling HVAC systems all over this district, and it's been a tough go for them. And I'm talking about working early in the morning, late at night, weekends, and everything else to make sure we have air. So I appreciate everything he and his staff has done to do that. Just a couple reminders. Adopt a School breakfast will be September the 21st at 8:30 in the Commons. Certainly, board members, if any of you'd like to attend, you're certainly welcome. That's when we join our schools together with our adopters. We are beginning next week. Mary Beth Holzer, Haley Holly, and their teams are starting our data digs, where we really start looking in at our performance from our last test and trying to identify areas where we need to strengthen working with our schools. So they put a lot of work into that, and I appreciate them. A couple dates we've set. they're into the future, but I just want you to go ahead and calendar them. October 30th is our Employee of Distinction Banquet. That's where we honor our certified teachers of the year, our support workers of the year, and our principals of the year. That's October 30th. And then November 30th, Curtis and his team set this yesterday. Our Student of the Year luncheon will be November the 30th, and that's going to be at Bayou Point on the campus of ULM. So I know that's in the future, but just wanted to go ahead and get you those 2 dates. Those are big events for us, and we always like to recognize our employees and students. So that's all I've got, Mr. Como.
All right, we'll also have the West Ouachita Ag, I guess, walk through to show their.
Breakfast, yeah.
Breakfast is coming Thursday. If anybody likes to go out and see what we've done for their program, you certainly need to.
Be at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Have to put in your reservation if you want to eat. And that's all I have. We have a motion to adjourn.
I move.
So moved. Motion is adjourned.